Successful YouTube channel in the game corruptor niche requires a blend of passion, creativity, and strategic SEO implementation. By consistently delivering quality content, engaging with your audience, and optimizing your videos for maximum visibility, you'll be well on your way to building an authority channel that stands out from the rest. So, gear up, press record, and let your game corruption journey begin. If you're a fan of me, be sure to hit the subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. With this game, we are going to talk about Kirby Superstar. And what this game also had is unused graphics, especially levels, so let's get started. Kirby graphics. Spitting sprites. Yuck, that was nasty. Super spitting racing. These two are rather strange, especially the second. Both of them involve Kirby spitting out something, and only appear in the sprite set referenced when Kirby has no ability. The weird glow on the front of Kirby in the second sprite might suggest that he was supposed to use this when spitting out something hot. However, there is also motion lines. Possibly a laser? The first one can be seen if you do a beam blast in the air after Dynablade is defeated in Dynablade, which causes the game to use Kirby's no-copy sprite ID. Wheelie Kirby victory pose. Wheelie Rider Kirby doing a victory pose. If you've played the game, then it's obvious that this should be used at the end of his dance, or when opening a treasure chest in the Great Cave Offensive. In the first of these cases, Kirby dismounts Wheelie. In the second, you either cannot open a treasure chest, if the first player is in control of Wheelie, or Kirby automatically dismounts Wheelie, if player 2 is in control. An entirely different victory pose for the Wheelie Rider ability is used for both instances in Kirby Superstar Ultra. Unused B-Mirror ability sprite. Found among Mirror Kirby sprites in the B-Mirror ability sprite set. The base sprite, minus the head and palette, is identical to one of the ninja abilities poses. This may be part of a scrapped aerial attack, as the mirror ability doesn't have any unique ones. The mirror also exists. Among Plasma Wisp sprites, these frames wound up unused. Plasma Kirby gets a different idle pose, where he emits energy around him at max charge, replacing the idol. Plasma Wisp oddly didn't have this behavior on him, but they had sprites made for such a mechanic. Only the first one is used, when player 2 is selecting their helper with X and Milky Way wishes, as he has a unique pose instead of just jumping. Plasma Wisp would get a different unique pose in the remake. Two cursors that are loaded with the main menu, likely left over from an earlier version of the game selection menu. These tiles are found in the main menu graphics block. This is the same graphical style used for locked games. At one point, the Great Cave Offensive would have to be unlocked. In the final version, it's one of 6 games available from the start. The game's name appears as a sprite in VRAM. Since it's never seen in-game, it remains untranslated in the US and European versions. How it would have appeared in the menu. Some kind of scythe or sickle or something. Its actual use is unknown, but it's most likely related to the Great Cave Offensive. Text. Most likely used in the Great Cave Offensive's description box. It's the only game with large areas instead of stages. The only game that uses a chapter system is Revenge of Meta Knight. This was probably used in that game's description box to show your progress. Error. No idea on this one. Untranslated and unused in all versions, this translates to from the beginning. New game option. Translates to stage. This could have been used anywhere. Translates to continue. Self-explanatory really. Another menu graphic for the Great Cave Offensive. A smaller version of the Shishinsha mark icon used in the Japanese version's tutorial screens. Miscellaneous unused graphics. The Arena pause screen logo. In every pause screen, graphics for this miniature arena logo can be found along with those for the other sub-games. As pause screens do not appear during boss battles, and the arena is the game's boss endurance mode, no pause screen exists for it. Despite its unused status, the logo was still localized for the international versions. This cloud platform is found in the same graphics set as the cutter platform, launch platform, and coconut. Its use is unknown, though it may have been used for floating platforms. The cutter platform is used for floating platforms in the final game. Interestingly, platforms with a nearly identical design to this one were later used in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, where they act just like the cutter platforms. While not technically unused, some members of the crowd in King Dedde's arena are never seen because they are cut off by the stage border. Poppy Brothers, JR, and Bowser are out of view, and most of Princess Peach's as well. However, this definitely isn't used during normal play. This early version of the crowd is what the level initially loads, until instantly triggering the King Dedede loader sprite, which is invisible and placed where Kirby spawns. Waddle Dee, Waddle Doo, and Poppy Brothers, JR. All look different. In fact, they're all based on artwork from Kirby's Dreamland. Mario's rampant bloodlust was toned down for the final version, and Luigi's swollen face was fixed. These kanji characters are loaded to VRAM at the start of the game, and are overwritten with food graphics when levels are loaded. It translates as, appropriately enough, food. These hexadecimal characters are used in foreground tilicites as filler. This gold medal is stored with the planets in Milky Way wishes. Its intended use might have been to mark planets that were 100% completed. A similar medal was used in Kirby Superstar Ultra to mark areas in which all the treasures had been collected in the Great Cave Offensive. Translates to goal. This icon and the one below suggest that at least one of the sub-games would have stages split into levels, as in Kirby's Adventure. Said game uses a goal icon when a normal stage is completed. Translates to clear. Kirby's Adventure uses a clear icon when a boss stage, and thus, a level, is beaten. Although international, the icon was corrupted so it kind of looks like a cracked screen TV. Translates to anger, wrath, or rage. Obviously, Kirby would somehow get angry. Sprites for the numbers 5,000 and 10,000 can be found in Megaton Punch's menu and results screen graphics. They resemble the point values awarded for beating a mini-game in Kirby's Adventure, so the original intent may have been for Megaton Punch to be entered from one of the other sub-games. Loaded during the Halberd escape at the end of Revenge of Meta Knight. Meta Knight probably used them as projectiles. A good 2/3 of Shotso's frames are unused. Normally, it faces left or right and aims forward, diagonally, or straight up. The unused sprites have it facing in many directions that aren't really suitable for a two-dimensional platformer. Unused sprites have Waddle Dee for a swinging animation. In Kirby Superstar Ultra's Revenge of the King campaign, Waddle Dees can be observed swinging on ropes. It can be re-added to the game via level editor by changing the object ID of a swinging Waddle Doo from 32 to 31. Speaking of this game, tiles for unused scenery can be found compressed at the Super NES address DF14FF in the U version ROM. No palette data or tile mapping exists for this. However, based on the order of these tiles in the tileset, this mock-up of a layout could be created. The custom palette was partially based off of the one used by the first area of Green Greens, and does not exist in the game. As the background and foreground are on the same layer, these graphics were likely intended for a cutscene. In Famicom Prototype, Kirby Superstar started development on Sakurai's personal twin Famicom setup, the same one used to develop Kirby's Dream Land, due to the lack of a Super Famicom development kit. It was only shown internally at HAL and was meant for testing ideas. Some images of the prototype sprites along with a video demonstrating the cutter ability animating on Famicom hardware were posted on a Famitsu article featuring Masahiro Sakurai in 2017, where he states that the team used his Famicom development tools while waiting for the Super Famicom tools to be prepared, including beam ability, yo-yo ability, fighter ability, and cutter ability. Let's see the video. In early screenshots, the March 3, 1996 issue of the Mexican Club Nintendo magazine showed off a preview for Kirby Superstar, referred to as Kirby's Adventure Super. The looks, likely a mistranslation. The page can be read here. From Spring Breeze, Green Greens with a slightly different layout of enemies. Also from Spring Breeze, the infamous self-bombing Poppy Brothers. In the second room of Green Greens was originally a boomerang Poppy Brothers. It's even sporting the green palette. Course 1 of Gourmet Race with much more sky visible, it's cut off and much lower in the final game. King Dedede also has a different portrait. Peanut Plains and Dynablade has a completely different level layouts than the final games. The assets remained the same, though. The fight against Dynablade uses a blue sky, where the final game uses a sky that swaps between cyan and purple, with the sky turning purple when Dynablade swoops in. It's unclear if Dynablade is in the middle of her defeat animation and the sky is turning blue again, but the shade of blue is noticeably darker than the final cyan. Also, Burning Leo is using his red and gray enemy palette, rather than his blue and green helper one. From the Great Cave Offensive, a slightly different version of Sub-Tree Area's first room. The only notable changes are the thin slope in the bottom left corner, a solid slope in the final, and the slightly different enemy choices. Also from the Great Cave Offensive, garden area with a pink sky, or ceiling, since it's underground, rather than a blue one, plus a rather different level layout. From Revenge of Meta Knight, a halberd portion set during the daytime. This same palette can be still found in the areas with this tillicid of Great Cave Offensive. From Milky Way Wishes, a couple differences and a screenshot of Half Moon. Enemies haven't been palette swapped yet, plus the enemies featured here are different than the final games. The Waddle-Doo was replaced with a sleeping Grizzo in the final. The background also sports a double moon, something not shown in the final game. Thanks for watching, viewers. Remember to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below, so good night.